Hey everybody, welcome to Ref Time, powered by RTS and produced by Coraggio Media. I'm Tanya.
And I'm Crane. We'll be covering rules, plays, points of emphasis, and all things official. Mr. Jake Linder, he's on board with us, and Mr. Adam Marino. How you doing, sirs?
Excellent.
Good.
First time from the production booth actually being on the show. So
well, I've been inviting you, but
well,
you
that's
felt
fair.
like you were too superior to.
No, I felt I was too inferior. You said that wrong.
Well, we've had conversations before. We're gonna get into that. Your thoughts about officiating, but we got the great Jake Linder with us today. And, you know, Jake and I, we talked about having him on before, and he couldn't make it. Well, I think we had a cancellation one time. You couldn't make it. But I'm glad you were able to come.
Yeah.
Thank you for being here, man.
Appreciate it.
I've
Thanks
been
for
looking
having
forward
me.
to this. You're welcome.
Yep.
Jake, let's talk a little bit. Let's start talking about why. This is a question we always ask people. What is your story? Why you got in officiating? How long you been in officiating?
Okay.
What motivates you? All that good stuff.
Sure. So for me, it's been 22 years. 22nd season, I guess. So 2000, I started college.
And he looks so young.
I don't feel like it anymore, I'll tell you that. But, 2001 season, I was in college, and I went to Defiance College, so just across the border in Ohio, and they had an officiating class. So in Ohio, you have to take a class first. You study, and then at the end of the class, you take your test and get your Class 2 license, so you can only do up to JV. And then after 2 years, then you can get your varsity license. I took the class. Basically, it was convenient for me. Just walk down to the gymnasium and take the class on Sunday afternoon for 4 hours. And at the end, took my test, got my license. And for me, it jived up with my baseball schedule really well. So I played baseball in college.
Okay.
So I could go do a junior high freshman game in the afternoon.
And this was basketball?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Did they have any other sports that they were allowing you guys to get trained in?
That was the only one that I knew of at the time.
Okay.
And again, it was one of those that fall I had baseball, spring I had baseball, and during the winter we kind of had late night practice anyways to wait for the gym to clear out for the basketball teams at the college. So
I didn't know you played baseball.
Yeah.
What position?
Infield mostly. So
How
started
many-
out at shortstop.
Shortstop. Okay.
Went to second
Omar
base.
Vizquel action?
Not quite. Not quite. So, yeah, I went to second base my sophomore year. Ended up at third base my junior and senior year.
You did play infield,
Yeah.
all three.
Yeah.
So which out of the three positions, which do you think? I'm not asking about the coach's opinion. Which do you think you were the best at?
I really enjoyed second base.
Okay.
So second base gives you a lot of room to react to the ball when it's hit, and you've got a lot of room to run. Shortstop, I didn't have the arm to get it across if it was deep in the hole.
To get it across the first
Yep.
base. Okay.
So second base allowed me to play shortstop kind of a little deeper and still get to a lot of those balls that were hitting the gaps.
But you did third base as well.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
you really got to have an arm from there.
Well, I played in a lot.
Okay.
So played in, covered the bunt. Was more reactionary than range at that point. So.
And I've seen you ref before. You got quick movement.
Yeah.
Like sidestepping, quick takeoffs.
Yeah.
At my age, I don't have those movements anymore, but I used to.
Mine
Adam,
are slowing down quickly, yes.
Yeah, and Adam, I know from a coaching perspective, he feels like my movement has really waned over the years. We're not going to get into that
No
yet.
comment. Yeah.
So you got into officiating. You said it was 2001.
Yep.
Okay.
2001.
You have been you've been at it a while.
Yes.
And how many sports are you doing right now?
So I currently am licensed in 3.
Okay.
Volleyball, basketball, and baseball.
Okay.
But I'm active in 2. Volleyball and basketball are my only 2 that I'm active in right now.
Oh, you're not active in the.
No, I don't have any baseball equipment, and
Okay.
my job does not allow me to get out in time for baseball season. Just a lot of the fields don't have lights, and it's
Sure.
difficult for me to get out and get there early enough to get changed and get dressed and get out on the field. So
Now, the fact that you played baseball, you'd probably love to officiate baseball.
I would.
Okay.
That's actually what kind of got me rolling. So growing up, we always umpired the Little League. So when I was in high school, we went and umpired the Little League games, and so that kind of gave me my first taste, really, of officiating. That and my dad drug me along to my brother's basketball games and made me ref when I was 7th, 8th freshman year. So
Was your dad a ref?
he volunteered.
Okay.
He wasn't an official,
Okay.
but all the elementary games that he coached. He would ref the girls' game, and then he would coach the boys' game. So,
Nice.
so did a lot of that.
Nice.
Throughout my first coach that way.
So you were exposed to sports all your life. You didn't have a choice.
Yeah.
Sports is going to be a part of your life.
It was destiny. So.
That's cool.
Yeah.
That's cool. And I also know obviously that you are I have to get your title right. You're the chairperson of the basketball committee. Is that or basketball?
Just the basketball
chairperson.
Yeah.
Of our association.
Correct.
Which I'll get correct. I know you. Don't look at me like that. I know how to
No,
say it. It's the NEIAOA, stands for Northeast Indiana Athletic Officials Association.
Okay.
Yep.
Got it.
So he's the chairperson of our association for basketball.
Correct.
Okay.
And we have different chair people for each sport. Is that the way it works?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay.
So, yep.
And how long have you been in that position, Jake?
I knew you were going to ask me that. So I took over for Ted Garton.
Correct.
And 2013-14 season, maybe 15-16.
And I got to say, I always compliment him when we get done with the meeting. He's doing an excellent job. Jake has made it more fun because when we go to the meetings and they're held at Concordia High School usually. Do we have 2 more left?
No, we're all finished. I try to get them done before December. So that way we can jump in.
Did you have 2 more listed before? Because I have them on my phone and Tanya goes, I think we're done. So I have,
so.
but I can mess up my schedule real easy. So it's just the way it is. But the meetings that when Ted was the chairperson, he would have the meetings and they were more discussion oriented and sometimes kind of lecture style, and that's what we were used to. Yep. Jake came in, took over. He brought in a technology piece. Now he has questions, and he shows a lot of game film from actual game situations. They highlighted me one night, probably the whole meeting. It was painful. But we learned a lot from it, and I really enjoy those. I think a lot of guys do, a lot of people do, because we really get into it. What made you approach it from that standpoint with the technology and the
So for me, I'm a visual person.
Okay.
And when I got into the college side of things, it seemed like everything was, you were being evaluated on your game film. You were being, with your partners, you were sharing game film with each other. And to me, it was a way to reflect back on what happened in the game and take a step back and say, all right, number 1, was I in the right position? Number 2, did I make the right call? So I try to take that concept, that approach, and use that in the meeting. And like I said, make it fun, make it enjoyable. And, I'm not trying, again, my disclaimer at the beginning of the year is I'm not calling people out.
Right.
This can be anybody in the room up on that screen.
Just trying to get better.
At any point in time, yes. Yeah. And I'll be the first one to throw my games up there because.
And he does. And I tell you, it's humbling. When you get shown like that, I'm sitting back and I'm just chilling at the meeting, and he puts up our game. I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah, like what?
And we had some wild stuff happen in I shouldn't say wild. We had some things happen in our game that we didn't handle correctly. So we're watching this, and I'm going, and I'm going. All the guys looking at me, and I'm going.
And this is recent?
Yes. Yeah, it was a girls' varsity game. But I tell you what, it was humbling, and it wakes you up to how you look on film and what people think. And that's what brings in a lot of what you say, them having been a coach. Your perspective is much different from ours as officials.
Of course.
And a lot of times we'll butt heads with coaches. That's not the goal, but it happens a lot. And so I guess I have a healthier respect for how coaches look at the game now, because I know you guys feel like, well, we got pain on this side too, and we don't like the pain, and we're as refs, well, you giving me the pain. And so the question, I guess one question I have to kind of drag you into this conversation, how do you think that coaches and officials should work together?
I think there's this thing that happens where they're rubbing against each other, sometimes the wrong way, when there are officials who the vibe is that they're making it about them. And I hate to say that there is a vibe out there with some officials. Now, with you two, I've seen you guys ref multiple times, and you absolutely do not make it about you. And the way that I would use an analogy for the listener is when you go to Applebee's for dinner and you have your meal and the server was just on point and was nothing to write home about, didn't make any mistakes, that means they were actually a really good waiter or waitress, server, right?
Yep.
But you don't tell anyone. because you don't even think about it. Now, if they were bad, you would tell everyone, man, that was really bad. What was going on? Well, it's a lot in the same regard with being an official, I think. When no one knows who the officials were that night and no one says that they were good, but they don't say anything else, that means you were really good, right? Because that's a true official should want that. You shouldn't, that statement, if you're an official and you're hearing this, that shouldn't say, well, hey, I want them to know I was there. No, buddy, you're in it for the wrong reason then.
Now, I got to challenge you on all that.
Now, your personality, I get it,
No,
and have some fun.
No, I'm going to challenge you because I've heard that from coaches before. My question is, if it's not about us, then why is a coach ranting and raving at us and making it about them?
Because when you guys miss a travel on one end and then call my kid, if I'm coaching the team, right, and you call a travel on my kid, then naturally, if you were in our shoes, or if that was your son getting called for a travel when someone else's son didn't get called, as a parent, you would be like, call it both ways. You would be yelling.
I didn't.
Well,
I did not.
I'm just saying,
and I think the reason,
average, because you had different perspective.
Well, and you're right, because I'm a ref, I couldn't do that. When Reggie was playing at Snyder, I saw some things go against him, but on the way home, I'm like, well, you did it. Yeah, Dad, but this, right. I don't care. I'm a ref. I don't care about that. You did it. Clean it up. You're right. The average parent, but I agree with you. 100%.
And as a coach, too, you're going to say that, hey, you missed that travel, but then you called that one? Come on.
Right. No, I get it. And I know you get it.
I get it. I get it.
So what's your take on that?
I mean, I would agree. Personally, I want to get in, do my job, and walk out that door.
Yeah.
If anybody knows I'm there, I don't care.
Yeah.
I'm going to call the game the way I call the game, and we're going to have it's going to be fair both ways.
That makes you a good official, though. Already.
And I have no dog in the game.
Right.
But I know from the coach's side, I blow my whistle 50% of the time, he's going to be upset because it's going against him. It's hindering him from doing what he expects to do, which is win.
And the crowd.
Yes.
You're absolutely right.
As we're coming out of COVID and more people are going to games, it's getting to be like it was pre-COVID a little bit, which, first of all, I'll say that's fantastic.
Yeah.
Because I've been going to some of these games in the SAC, and it's fun to be with people, man.
Yep.
Yeah.
You know? And so again, just to your point, when you blow your whistle, 50% of the people will not agree.
Right.
And even the people that are just going to argue no matter what when it's an obvious travel. Sometimes you'll make a call and the opposing coach will be like, good call.
Yeah.
Because it was an obvious travel, but you'll still have 13 parents. I'll be like, that wasn't a travel. Well, it really was. And even everyone on the bench, opposing bench, from player to assistant coach to manager to water boy will agree, hey, that was a travel on our number 13.
Yeah. Like now, just I have to always challenge everything you say because you challenge everything I say. It's the brotherhood. It's what we do. So I got to take it to another level. Because basketball, somebody told me one time, it may have been Jake, it's one of the most, it's one of the fastest games. It is definitely one of the most close proximity games. You have it's a contact sport.
Right.
It's a high level emotional game, and everybody's right on top of each other. Coaches are right behind us, but volleyball is a completely different world.
Right.
So what we're talking about in basketball does not happen in volleyball. Can I get
Not usually.
On that?
Not usually.
There's
a few coaches
there's
that can
still
get a little
hey,
wound up.
A few.
That was a double hit. You didn't,
less judgment in volleyball.
A lot
less judgment. It's more cut and dry, more black and white. Where basketball, you get into the gray area every time down the floor. Yeah. Was that bump a foul? Was that, did he drag his pivot foot just enough to call the travel? And I think that's the biggest thing with basketball is that gray area that you're in.
And keep in mind, in basketball, there's a lot more rules. There's a lot more rules than in volleyball. Yeah. I mean, when you came to our class a couple of times and pointed out, and I hadn't thought about it till you said it, but you said, I think one of the students asked you what was the most important part of the rule book, and you said you thought it was rule number 4. Yep. That's where all the definitions are. Basketball has a lot of rules that other sports don't have. But another thing about basketball, most of it, I don't know if you agree, I think basketball for officials is probably 70 to 75% judgment. I
would agree.
When you're talking about the rules.
Yeah. It's is it incidental contact or illegal contact?
Correct.
And that's where
Yeah.
it ends up at the end of the day is.
And the coach is saying, well, that was a bump down there. How come it's not a bump
Right,
down
right.
Well,
Well,
coach,
sometimes incidental contact is still a foul,
Correct.
depending on
Absolutely.
what happens.
Absolutely.
When you trip
Mhm.
in, not on purpose, you trip someone as they're going for a layup, you're still going to call the foul.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And most people won't squawk at that. Like, hey, they'll know that it was an accident, but hey, it's still a foul.
Yeah.
Well, like, for instance,
Well,
Tanya,
every foul's almost an accident. If I go to try and block your shot
True.
and I miss and hit your arm instead, wasn't that an accident?
Yes. Yeah,
I mean, I'm just
maybe.
saying. I'm
I
just
don't
saying.
know. The way
I'm
I
trying to block
played-
your shot clean. I'm
I
trying
don't know. The way I played,
Well,
no.
you try to hurt somebody then,
No, but
bruiser.
No.
That's all I was gonna say.
Well, Tanya and I had a game, the Manchester game, and the girl was playing good defense, and she was out top. She goes down, and the offensive player tripped over and fell over. So Tanya calls a foul. Okay, now the girl got upset, and she's their star player. She jumps up. She's, how the heck? And Tanya's is trying to explain to her, you weren't in legal guarding position as she's walking by, and I'm thinking, this player's not going to hear that. So I walk up to the player, and I said, hey, come here. And she goes, how is that? I said, look, let me help you understand that. Anytime you're on the floor and a player trips over you, it's going to be a foul. It's one of the dumbest rules in the book, but it's a foul. You're not in what they call legal guarding position. She goes, I said, it's a dumb rule, but it's a rule. And she goes,
But
okay.
here's how I would explain that. And maybe this will give you maybe a learning piece for referees.
Teach me.
I would say if it was me, I would say, let's flip it on the other side. If
Okay.
this young lady tripped and then you tripped over her, and you turned it over now because you tripped and gave up the ball, or you double dribbled or whatever,
Wouldn't you want me to call it?
wouldn't you want exactly?
Yeah.
And I feel like
a good
in
point.
those instances, she would say, well, yeah, I'd want you to call it.
Right.
Okay, then it's a foul on you right now.
And the only reason I took time to explain it to her is because she was their star player, and I could tell she was upset, and her head was getting out of the game. And it was a good game, and I was thinking, we don't need to lose her head.
Right.
So I explained it to her. It helped her a little bit, but I think your explanation would have been better. If I had thought, why weren't you there, man? Why
I'm
weren't you there
just
whispering in
look.
my
I
ear?
do what I can when I can do it. You see how this works?
So, Jake, getting back to you,
Yes.
since you're the man of the hour,
Yes.
because Adam and I do this all day.
Right.
What he asked you before the show, what profession are you in?
So I'm an accountant during the day.
Ooh,
Yeah.
you the money man.
Okay.
I try.
See, that makes a
Okay.
good official too. You're about,
He's black and white.
the steps and taking all the steps and
Yeah.
doing the things, right?
That's very true.
Got to
Jake.
follow the rules.
Yeah. How long you been doing that?
So I've been at my current company just over a year,
Okay.
but I've got my degree in accounting. When I got out of school, though, I went into media relations. I didn't want to use my accounting degree, so did some graphic design, web design. Worked
Really?
at Xavier University in Cincinnati.
So that's what gives you your
Yeah, my little creativity.
yeah
Yep, yep.
in technology. Okay.
So yeah, I did that for 4 years, and then started a family. So those nights and weekends didn't jive up too well, and
But you enjoyed that field.
I did.
So you enjoyed that field more than accounting, but
Mhm.
for family situations, you
Right.
had to go for the money.
Yep.
Okay.
So yeah, so I've been in an accounting role, some way, shape, or form for probably since 2008. So
Do you do people privately too, or just in
no,
your job?
just mainly cost accounting, manufacturing.
Okay.
Industries.
So you got into officiating. Well, you got into that right after college. That was your major. Then you got into officiating about 2001.
Mhm.
So since that time in the officiating world, any sport that you've done, what's the career highlight you think you've had so far?
For me, it was sitting at the table as the alternate in the 2019 NCAA Division III National Championship
Nice.
Wow.
at Coliseum. So
Nice.
it was pretty fun.
Yeah.
Just getting to meet the different officials from around the country. I mean, there's guys from New York, Virginia, Maryland. We had one guy from Oregon, Washington out
Wow.
there. So
The camaraderie and just like
yeah,
that's
just
kinda
getting to know
cool.
different guys and
And knowing that you're hanging out with the elites who get to do the top level
Yeah.
games.
Yeah,
That's
so,
nice.
And then walking out on the floor and seeing all you yahoos up in the skybox yelling at me and screaming at me. So, yeah, that was
Amen.
fun. That was fun,
Amen.
especially being in the hometown. I mean,
Yes,
it's
sir.
always good.
So, and then we got to move on to what we call second quarter conversation. So, second quarter talk, rules, points of emphasis.
Yeah.
I know you're a rules guy. You're
I
a
am.
points of emphasis guy. So, what would be your, and I didn't give you this purposely before the show because I wanted it to be like fresh.
Okay.
What would be your pet peeve on a rule, whether it's a favorite rule, a not a favorite rule, a rule that's hard to call, a rule you don't like?
And let's give an example because I know Tanya. So Tanya's example is, shout out to Tanya. She can't be here today. She's working a game, right?
Yep, she's doing a college game today.
So that's why I'm here. So Tanya's, one of her pet peeves is uniform. Like, she will be on you if you're not tucked in. So that's an example, right? So now for you, what is something that I would think after 20 years there would be something that you should have something that kind of chimes in, right?
So I would go the opposite way on uniforms. I hate being the uniform police. If your shirt under your uniform, if you got a white shirt on under your red uniform,
Yeah, like that's
I
a
don't
thing.
care.
That's a thing, though, right?
Yeah.
It
Technically,
well, like you said, it depends on the official. It is a thing according to the rules, and it's a point of emphasis. But it depends. Like, I'm working the game.
you don't
the
have
other
to
night.
enforce it. Like
He doesn't.
I do.
You
I
do?
do.
Oh,
but
okay.
you don't.
But I don't like doing it because now you're creating conflict right at the start of the game
True,
Yeah,
true.
with
like
the coach and the player.
That's true.
Here's
And
the
it has
thing.
no influence on how he's going to play the game.
Exactly.
But here's the thing, though.
Actually, it does have an influence. Players that are used to playing with it out, they can't be as flamboyant as normal. They're worried about tucking it in all the time, and it gets in their head. So it does become a point of emphasis. I mean,
But
it
say you
influences
have a
the
white
game.
shirt on under your red uniform.
Yeah, it doesn't affect the game.
That's
that
got
part
no
doesn't.
impact on you.
But here's the thing that maybe this can help you moving forward as well. You need to understand that the coach has a job to, at the beginning of the season, let his players know that these are the colors that we are wearing, and then it's on his assistants. That was one of my jobs when I was on a staff. Because I was lower level, I was just a freshman coach. I was given different, like, you're going to keep these stats, and you're going to make sure the players don't have jewelry and that they're wearing the right shirts. Now, that's on every coach in America to do that.
Right.
And if they're not doing that, they put that position on you. That's on them. Say, Coach, you put me in a bad spot. You didn't check your players, and now I have to be the bad guy.
Yeah.
Coach, you're the bad guy. You didn't do this before the game. It's very easy to do, to delegate.
Yeah.
So you shouldn't feel bad. He should, or she should. The coach should,
So-
but I get it.
And the
It's not
problem is
fun.
we don't get it until we're ready to tip because they're not taking their jerseys. They're
wearing
warm-ups
warm-ups.
off
They're wearing
until
warm-ups.
That's
I'm
true.
getting ready to toss the ball. Now I look over and there's a guy with a white shirt on,
Right.
and I'm like,
Now,
all right, here we go.
Here's one thing though that has happened before. I think it was someone like Craig Hershey or someone like that. They would come up to us while we're in warm-ups and say, "Hey, coach, is everyone dressed and properly?" And then it's on the coach to be like, "Wait, I know for a fact that I designated Adam to take care of that all season. He's got our back." And the coach would say, "Yep, we're set." Then he'd look over at me and I'd be like, "Yep." Okay. So again, there's proactive ways that you can, if you don't enjoy doing that, then be proactive is my thought.
Well, we do it.
Yeah.
Like he said, he didn't like it. I don't like it either. Tanya's, she's a
stickler on it. Yeah, she
but,
is.
We asked that question in pregame with the coaches. When we
And
got
they
head
just say
coaches,
yes?
Coach, are both teams equally
No,
and
has
properly
anyone ever
equipped?
said no? No one says no to that,
Well,
right?
yeah, I had a coach one time. He goes, "Well, I do have let me check," and he called the assistant over and had to check.
Okay.
But that's something that head coaches, they don't care about. That I don't blame them.
No, designate
They
it to a
shouldn't
guy
have
like
to.
me, one of your assistants,
Right.
like for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I've had some messiness this year with that.
Really?
I had it. Actually, it was a college game, and we ended up calling it tech. We didn't want to, but the girl didn't know. I mean, the assistant coach didn't know. She came over and she said, I was at the table. I was the R, and I'm like, "Well, we got a problem." And then she goes, "Well, what happened is when she figured, she was furious. When she figured out what was wrong, the girl had blood on her uniform from a previous game, and she didn't tell anybody, so she changed her uniform and a different number, and nobody knew it."
And so the number in the book was wrong?
Correct.
Oh, I've
And
had that
so,
happen too.
yeah.
That that's different than jewelry or a wrong
Right.
color shirt. I
Well,
mean, it's in that same
now, I don't
genre.
mind enforcing the jewelry rule because players can get hurt.
That's
Right.
dangerous.
Yeah, and
Yep,
if they
I
get
agree.
hurt, we are liable. So I don't mind enforcing that.
Yeah.
And when I have somebody with jewelry, usually in high school or college, I'll say, "Hey, you gotta take that." "Oh, my bad, I forgot."
Right.
Usually.
They know usually.
Yeah.
You look at these NFL players, they're wearing all this. I'm like, how? You put a helmet on your ear?
Well,
Right.
see, that stuff drips down to our levels, and that's
Right,
the
'cause they
problem.
wanna-
because everybody's looking at the higher levels.
Yep.
Points of emphasis. So points of emphasis this year. What stands out in your mind that has been a hindrance or it's been a help?
Obviously, sportsmanship's number one on the list.
Love that one.
Really, everybody's been pretty good this year.
Yeah.
And I think to Adam's point earlier, with COVID, it kind of gave us a reset to say, hey, everybody in attendance, it's a privilege now to be in attendance because of those 2 years that we were half capacity or, parents only, things like that. So, but again, I try to be proactive on the sportsmanship side. And if I see somebody going south or somebody getting off the path that I want them to be on, trying to get out in front of it and say, hey, you all right? Are we going to, stick with me? I know you're frustrated, just stay with me. We're going to be all right. And so far, so good. I mean, I think I clipped a play the other night. Somebody got tossed at the Kokomo game, a fan right in front of the referee arguing a call and stood up. And, I haven't had anything to that extreme yet.
Yep, I know what you're talking about.
But it's, and I think as an official we could have handled it a little different. But, again, it's out there. You got to be ready for it. But knock on wood, so far so good. And I think everybody's kind of in an understanding of what the game needs at this point.
And technically, they make it easy for you guys. Don't you just have to give a nod to an officer or the athletic director and say,
usually,
like
yes.
you
Usually.
Personally don't.
we don't
it.
have to deal with it,
I mean, really,
and we
No.
shouldn't.
right? You shouldn't.
We just identify. We notify the game administrator.
And usually, you'll know who the athletic director is beforehand,
Oh,
or
yeah.
the officer, or
Oh, yeah.
whatever the situation. You'll
Right.
know, hey, it's John.
Yeah, when we get to
Hey,
a
John.
school,
Him in the red.
Yeah.
And then you just carry on with the game. You
Yeah.
don't make a deal of it, right?
And I
mean,
think Jake would probably agree with this. That the best way to handle it is if you see a problem, don't make a big deal about it. Just when I get a chance, unless they're just acting a complete idiot, I'll just go over to the AD, say, hey, over in that section right over there, got an issue with a parent, and they usually will take care of it. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, if we get to timeout, quarter change, something
Yeah.
like that, we can get over to the AD and say, hey, guy up there in the red shirt, he's getting close.
Right.
Keep an eye on him for me.
that way he can go
Yeah.
like, hey, man, you're going to get kicked out if you don't.
Right.
Because
you
the
know.
schools are getting dinged for
Yes.
bad behavior.
Yep.
And so I can't remember school I was at recently, but it really surprised me and Tanya. We were working together, and the announcer, I know there was a lady that was saying, it was a pretty empty gym. It wasn't a lot of people there. I can't remember the name of the school. It might have, I don't forget it. Anyway, this lady's up in the corner, and she's just yelling, and nobody else is saying much. And she's not yelling nice things. And we were kind of looking at each other like, wow. And she wasn't saying, crazy things, but just, like you said, getting close.
Yep.
And we thought we were going to have to find the AD. The announcer says, during a timeout.
That's
he
great.
goes,
You love that.
Yeah, I just want to make the announcement that if there's any negative talk, any harassment of the officials or the visiting team, you will be escorted out. We have no tolerance for that type of behavior. Now, getting back to the game, I was like, wow.
You love that. That kind of makes you feel like gets you jazzed up.
Like,
you
you're like, well, we want to go back to that.
yeah.
school.
You want to get some adrenaline going on that. Jeez.
All right, third quarter talk. The need of officials.
Yes.
What would you say to that? The need of officials, and we're talking any sport, any and all sports.
Yeah, and I would say in Indiana, basketball as a whole is not as bad off as some other sports.
Really?
I would say that the volleyballs and the softballs and the baseballs, maybe those type of sports that are in different seasons.
Mm-hmm.
Probably have more of a need
Okay.
than basketball. But basketball, obviously, we need officials as well. And I think it's not just in Indiana; it's across the board throughout the country. And
Yeah, and I mean to cut you, but when you said that at first, you said Indiana is not a bad of a need, and I was thinking in my mind, yes, it is. But then when you kept talking, I registered. He's talking Indiana because we have some friends in Illinois who've told us in the past they've had games where Michigan too, where they've actually had to do varsity games with two officials, and then it's so bad in Illinois at times that they didn't have enough officials. They had to cancel the games.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, she was telling me and Tanya, she said, if you guys ever want to come over to Illinois and ref,
Guys,
we
that
need
is
you.
that's heartbreaking.
Yeah,
like
it
you got
is.
this
Yeah.
kid that's practiced all
Right.
week and
Yeah.
put in the work,
Yeah.
and then well, there's no one that can put stripes on.
Right.
Like, what?
Yeah.
Right. And then if you just grab somebody out of the crowd, what kind of game are you going to get?
No, I
And
know.
that's the other side too. The
Right.
need
Proper
of
training.
officials. Yes.
Right. And that's so that's a topic that I wanted you to go into,
Mhm.
being a person who is part of the training of officials.
Yep.
And then we'll get into that too.
Mhm.
We'll have a need for officials, and then the ones we have, how good is our training?
Right. And the bulk of officials is getting older. You know, the average age of officials in the state, at least that I know of, is getting older.
Yeah,
I mean,
we're
it was
aging out. Yeah.
it was around 50 years old was the average age, and now it's moved up to 55 in
Yeah.
the last 2-3 years.
But COVID knocked out a lot of guys.
Correct.
A lot of
Yep.
guys didn't want to do it because they didn't want to be exposed to all that COVID stuff.
Yeah. Yep.
It's a
And
lot
then-
of people you're dealing with.
Yeah.
And then a lot of people have been knocked out too by the behavior
Mhm.
of coaches and crowds. I mean, it's just a lot of a barrage of things. But
Correct.
Go ahead.
Yeah. So you talked about training, and so in my meetings, so we have 8 meetings every year to kind of get ready for the season. So as
Mhm.
basketball chair, I put on these 8 meetings with a multitude of topics and try to cover, rule changes, points of emphasis,
And
then
they
go
are
in-
good. They
go
are good.
into some video training as well.
Mhm.
But before those meetings, I have a half hour prior to our main meeting, I call it, for new officials.
Mhm.
So I try to get them in the room in a smaller setting so they can ask questions, because a lot of times our main meetings have anywhere from 50 to 75
Right.
officials in
Kind of
one
intimidating
room.
for
Right.
a new person.
So
yeah.
if you're a new person and you want to ask questions like, how do I get games, or what do I dress like,
Yeah.
what uniform do I buy?
Yep.
I want to make that smaller so they can feel like they can ask questions and be of like-minded people in that situation to be comfortable. So that's my take on trying to at least give them a forum, an open opportunity to ask questions and talk, and then if there's no questions, then I kind of lead into, all right, here's kind of what you do your first year of officiating,
Mhm.
first 5 years of officiating, kind of
Right.
set standards, set goals as we go along with those in mind.
And we've had Jake come in with our referee training school class, and he's come in and spoke. I think it's been a couple of times you've come in.
Yep.
And that's been a good time, because when he comes in, it kind of opens up the eyes to the incoming officials of what they can look forward to when they come to the meeting. So it's really good that we have that camaraderie. So in terms of the training or recruiting, as an official part of the association here, what is our association doing? And maybe you can even address what you think the IHSAA is doing to address those two areas.
Yeah, so the IHSA as a whole, so if you're a first-year official, you can come in, get a free license, and take your test and get licensed as an official free of charge your first year, because they know that initial investment of uniforms and pants and whistles and shoes and
It's
all that.
real.
It's real,
Yeah.
yes. And so from the IHSA standpoint, that's a good start for them to waive that first year registration fee. In addition to that, if you do that program, you're actually assigned a mentor. So if you come in and say, hey, I'm a brand new official, I'm going to take the test, they'll give you a free license, but we're also going to provide you this mentor to ask questions to, in case anything comes up. And then as association, we also give them a free year association dues, get them again into the association to hopefully attend those meetings, get them on the communications, and do that side of it as well.
Now, I had a
them going.
chance to speak to Brian Lewis. I think he took Sandra Walters' place.
He took Paul Neidig's spot, and then so him and Sandra were working together until Sandra left. And then there's another associate commissioner now that took Sandra's place, and I can't remember her name at the moment.
And these people we're speaking of, they're part of the IHSAA down in Indianapolis. So I spoke with Brian, and he was talking about the school program that they've put in place. You know much about that?
Correct.
Speak on that a little bit.
Sure. So the IHSA also put into high schools around the state. So I think there's 10 or 15 high schools maybe.
He said they've got there's about a little under 500 kids that are involved in it, which was impressive to me.
Yeah, so I know the closest one around Fort Wayne is East Noble.
Okay.
They sponsor an actual class where you get
similar to the
credits.
ones you went through in college.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, but I didn't get any college credit or anything like that. So I think they can get high school.
But you got
It's like
paid, and that's what's important.
Correct. Yeah. You needed that money in college.
You
Yeah.
gotta have it.
Yeah. Those $6 Pop John pizzas didn't come free of charge, you know.
Gotta have it
Yeah.
in college, baby.
Yep. So, but yeah, so you can take this. It's basically a PE class. I think they've assigned it as but it's accredited through the state, and they can attend this class in the fall or the spring, and then I think they cover 5 or 6 different sports. Like, they cover the gamut, so it's not just a basketball class of officiating. They kind of do volleyball, they do basketball, they do baseball, softball, wrestling.
Wow.
I think they include all different types of
I
sports.
didn't know that. That's nice.
And then at the end of the class, you have the option to take your test and get I can't remember, the apprentice license, or
I
you
think
can
so.
get.
And they can do that in all the sports that's offered, or just they have to pick 1 or 2, or do you know?
I think they can pick as many as they want.
Wow, that's nice.
As far as I know. But the ones we obviously that I get attention on is the basketball ones.
Correct. Yeah.
But they can work any lower level game. I think they can do freshman and below.
Okay.
So once they get this provisional license or apprentice license, they can do any game, freshman or below. So they're trying to, again, plant that seed in high school to get them off on the right foot, and then again the next step is bring them into the association and getting them on their way. I'll say so.
Good
yeah.
deal. So what do you think about that? You think we need to put a lot more emphasis on recruiting?
I mean, you guys would know better than I would. The overall vibe, I would say, is yes.
Mm-hmm.
That we need more people. It is nice to hear, though, that you said overall as a state that we're better than a lot.
That is refreshing.
That is kind of cool. I never would have thought that. Now, I will say, I mean, it is odd, like, being in the state where everyone knows that basketball is different in Indiana. The top 50 high school gyms, we have, 33 of them in this state alone, which is insane.
Yeah.
Right.
That's mind-boggling.
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, people do know, people in Louisiana, people in Nebraska, people in New York, they know that Indiana is different for basketball, and so it should be better. We should strive to be better as far as having officials and having good officials, but is there room to grow? No question, right? I mean,
what in Fort Wayne, and you guys know the answer to this, what's the main place that used to be the basketball mecca?
Speed Fieldhouse.
Speed's Fieldhouse.
oh yeah.
Yep.
Now, when Speed's was really, really hot, and I was out there running all the time, I can't tell you guys the number of people who would be coming in from other states and would come up to me and say things like, "Man, this place is awesome." And I'm
know.
like, "You really think so?" They go,
Yeah, because
"Man,
we don't know.
Indiana is known for basketball." I'm like, it is. Yeah, man, we're from Florida, man. We couldn't wait to come here and play in Indiana.
No,
I
it
hear
is.
that
It's
lot.
a thing.
Yep.
It's a thing.
Yeah,
it's just
it's
like,
real.
as a podcast production company, I talk to people from all over the country and all over the world. And when I tell them that Sweetwater is 18 minutes away from my door,
Yeah, they freak out.
They freak out. They're like,
Yeah.
Sweetwater? That is where all these mics are from. That is where,
Yes.
like, it's the mecca
Sweetwater is the mecca of
and
music.
we live right there. So
Yeah.
it's like Fort Wayne is kind of like
Oh, yeah.
a cool, as far as that goes, like
Yeah.
that production value and basketball. I mean, it is a thing, and
Yeah.
and we just live here, so we don't
Right.
know any better.
Right. We just
Hoosiers, we the Hoosiers. Yeah, that's the thing. But that's serious. So, that's going into fourth quarter talk because we're kind of segueing into that RTS referee training school, which is what me and Tanya represent. Coming up on our 12th year. And we focus on recruiting and training. And that's why we bring you in, because we think you're a good trainer. We think you're a good communicator. And we try to soak up and absorb good people, because it's all about helping these more officials get involved and then helping them get trained so that coaches won't have as much negativity.
Don't put this on me. Allegedly.
So, Adam, I got one question for you then. As a coach, what is your pet peeve with officials in general?
I would say some, in regards to make it about themselves, sometimes the comments that some can say back are
Ooh,
like,
that's you. I never heard that one before.
are like, what? Come on, dude, you're an official. Like,
but I never heard a coach say that. Because I mean, I know
because that can rub me the wrong way. Like, I'm trying to just coach my team. I don't need your snide comment.
No, that's a good
like,
point.
you're supposed to be a robot,
right?
In that regard,
you're absolutely right.
You're supposed to be.
Right.
Now, I get you're a human being,
Right.
and we're all sinful in nature, and I get that. But like, come on, dude. Especially when I'm not a high level coach, so like, either AAU or 8th grade ball or freshman ball, and JV assistant I did as well a little bit, like, and of course varsity assistant. Everyone's a varsity assistant technically when you're on a staff like that. You just you're on the bench, like, but like, come on. So any referees that I got were not your like varsity. They were your, like one of my favorites was Dan Howe. He would do. He almost did 90% of my freshman games. And I would love just shooting the breeze with him. And whenever I run into him, hey, how's your boys? How's, this son, he's flying a plane, or whatever, and when he would make a call, I would be like, and we would, but that's different because I got to know him a little bit because he did like 80% of my, Dan, he did 80% of my games, so he, it's a little different. But if a guy like that was doing a game, I'm like, dude, you're a freshman official. Really? You're going to say that to me, or like whatever it was? That's kind of gets under my, like, because my thing is, don't be a jerk because I can jerk you.
I knew that was coming.
And I don't want to.
Right.
You know what? I'm laughing because I'm the kind of official. I'm the kind of official. I'm going to joke with you.
No, I'm joke and jerk is a difference of a couple letters.
No, but that's just it. My joking sometimes can be taken as being jerkish because that's just I'm joking. Like I had that happen recently. I said something, and I was at Snyder. This is about 3 or 4 years ago, and they were playing a team who was the team was getting beat bad, and I was down in front of the visitors bench. And a dad was up there, and it was a tournament, and he was just being a complete jerk. And everybody in the gym heard him. And I finally looked up at it, and I was looking at him, and I try not to make it a big deal, but Crane can. So I'm looking at him like, and I'm going to have to shut you down. But I didn't. So we had a stoppage in the game. I go over there. Something was on the court. I kicked it off the court, and I looked at him on the bench, and I made sure Dad could hear me. And I said, whose dad is that up there acting like that? And, I did that. And he heard me, of course. And when the girls took it well, one of them sat there. She goes, "It's not mine."
Yeah. It's number 41.
And she said, and the girl looked. I said, "That's your dad." She goes, "Yeah, I hate it." And she turns around. She says, "Would you please be quiet?" And
she said it for you.
She said it to the dad, and I was like, "Yes." Well, the coach, I come down court, and he's upset, like what you're saying. He goes, I don't need you to talk to my players. And he was losing badly. So I understood. He said, I don't need you to talk to my players. I just need you to do your job. And I looked at him, I said, Coach, I was kind of doing my job. That's called game management. Your parent was up there. He's not my parent. I said, well, Coach,
yeah, he is.
She took care of it. Well, he wasn't going to hear that. I said, Coach, she took care of it. And he goes, I just need you to do your job. I said, Coach, you need to chill a little bit.
But you kind of do understand.
I understood, but I told him, I said,
he
Coach,
wants his players focused on the game.
Right, not on their
that
dad.
he's getting blown out of. And
right.
I said, Coach, you need to chill a little bit. I said, I'm sorry you're having a bad game, but I'm not your enemy. And he goes, I know. It's
right.
Just, so
see,
I
you
knew,
get it.
I understood.
You get it,
but like I said, my comment was taken as I was being a jerk, but I was just trying to manage the game without having to address this dad who was acting a complete idiot.
It's funny. As I'm thinking through, there are guys that can get away with it when I know them so well. Which isn't fair, but it's the truth.
Yep. Yeah.
Jeff Lytle can tell me anything he wants.
Yeah.
Because I know him and I know his kids since they were little, and like he's umped my softball games. Like I just know I'll see him at Applebee's and we'll shoot the breeze. We're cool. So, and he knows I'm cool. Like if he comes at me, it's different. What I'm saying is when I don't know you, when I'm shaking your hand for the first time and then you're going to give a snide, like, dude, chill out. That's my thing.
I
so
get it.
I should say that.
No,
because everyone knows Lytle can give it, but it's different because most people know him. He's been around.
Right. I get it. I get what you're saying. And that's just human nature. That's just the way it is.
Yeah.
But the comment you made earlier, I was like, He said, dude, what? You're supposed to be a robot. I was like, I ain't no robot.
Well, but again, see, we already have the relationship, so you could come at me if you're
Right.
reffing my game,
Right.
like you could, because
no,
it's
but
like,
your comment was taken. It was educational,
and that's why I
for
had
me,
to, yeah.
because most coaches probably look at it that way. If you don't know me, you're supposed to be a robot.
Yes, if you don't know me,
You're right.
like be respectful. That
You're
it's
right.
almost like
Right.
it's almost like men in camaraderie when they're meeting at B-dubs for the game and they call each other a name.
Yeah.
It's in term of endearment.
Correct.
And so, but you wouldn't say, "Hey, big dummy,"
Yeah.
when I'm shaking your hand for the first time. But I would.
I did say that. No, I'm just joking.
But I would to James Payne.
Right.
Yeah.
Because
right.
you know, what's up, big head?
Yeah.
Well, okay, but I'm not gonna say that to you if I'm just meeting you for the first time.
Right.
But at the same time, Jake, you know, we have to be careful of that, because if we joke with a coach,
Then
and I
it's
got a head
over.
coach
Then it's
over
looked
here,
at. Now you got to do it equally.
Correct.
So-
but I can't say what's up, big fatty, and then go over and say what's up, big fatty. I can't do that.
Right.
I
There.
can't do
I
that.
get it. I get it.
But I what I do is I teach our officials, the new ones anyway. I say, look, the way I officiate is going to be different from the way Jake officiates.
Right.
Different from the way
Because
Adam
you're a
might
different
officiate.
human than.
And I say
Jake
that. And I
is,
say,
yeah.
I'm going to tell you guys, what I do is I use a lot of humor. Now, Jake doesn't. I've seen the way he officiates.
He's
He
very
does-
professional.
He's very professional.
He's
Crane,
very, very
Crane is
professional.
very, very laid back, but it works
And
for
you're
my
still
style.
professional, and you're, you know,
Yeah.
the way.
Depends. Some officials may not say so, but I don't
Well,
know.
I mean, so I think it's how I draw the line versus how you draw the line.
Correct.
Sure,
You know,
maybe.
you're going to use that humor
Right.
to get to that line.
Right.
Where me,
you're going to use rules.
I'm going to use rules.
Yeah.
Coach, he did this wrong.
Right.
We're going this way because this is what the rule book says.
Right.
And
Boom, moving
you know,
on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So. You know,
Yeah, but I
that's
have
my
had
line.
a coach call me big head. It's Ray Sims. What's up, big head? And I looked at him. And this was a summer game. I couldn't ref a seasonal game. I looked at him. I was like, you don't know me that well. So I felt just like you did as a coach. I'm like, you don't know me that well. But because my son played for him, he thought he could joke with me. And I'm looking at him like, you got a good relationship with his mama. You ain't got a
Yeah.
I don't even like it. But, you know.
But you still knew deep down he didn't mean it.
No,
as
he didn't
like,
mean it personally. No.
as
no,
a
not at all.
negative thing.
No,
'cause-
it was just we're in the same profession. We're going to do it. But, you know, just getting back to the recruiting part, RTS, we have a class coming up. So I want to advertise to you guys, let you know so you can help pass the word. These are the cards we use, and you've seen them before. But the dates, you know, I got to read this. So the dates we have coming up for the class are January 2nd.
Let me hold it out here for you.
Ah, you smarty. 2nd.
Big head.
Yeah, big head. Yeah, big fatty. So January 2nd, and it's going to be basically every Monday in January. So that's the 2nd, the 9th, the 16th, the 23rd, and the 30th. Be from 5:30 to 8:30. So if you guys can help us pass the word, because
Okay.
we are trying to get as many people. And, you know, it's interesting because that's why I kind of like high-profile games when I get them, boys or girls, because people see us on the court, and then they want to, you know, they, like you said, they got the familiarity with us, and they've known us for so long.
Right.
And I'm kind of like, yeah, and I love to look at people and go, you know, Adam, you look pretty good in some stripes.
Right.
I love to say that. And people go, me? I say, yeah, why not you? And they go, well, I don't know. You guys made terrible calls. I was like, and I've learned. I get that. So I was like, you know what?
Do
That's
better
why
then.
I'm talking to you, because I'm sure you're going to be better than me. And that puts they go look at me and go,
What do they say to that? I mean,
Yeah.
what are you gonna?
but I
yeah.
did do that with one lady at Speeds, and Sport One, and she looked at me. She goes, "I would be better than you." I mean, she was not giving in.
come on,
I was like,
lady.
the humor's not working here.
Yeah.
But yeah, we just want to put the word out, get as many people involved as possible.
If that happens, look, lady, 417-1686.
Well, you know,
Speed dial.
there's been some games where people act a fool, and I just seriously, matter of fact, I got to tell the story of Jerry, and we're gonna have him on too. Jerry's an older gentleman, probably in his 70s. I'm at Sydney's doing a game over at Pal. And she comes home and she's really upset. She goes, Dad, I can't. You're trying to talk me how to handle something, but this is one guy. Oh, he's an old guy. He's really getting on my last. And she's going on. I got to go back, and he's gonna be there. And I said, well, Sydney, you do this. That. You think it's so easy? You come out and see how I deal with him. I said, okay. So I went out and did a game with her. Halftime, I'm looking at her. I'm like, this dude is off the chain.
She's like, I try to tell you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I said, watch how I handle it. She goes, I'm watching. So I took a bunch of these cards. This is 2 years ago. I took a bunch of these cards. I went over to the crowd. I said, hey, if you know anybody's interested, got a class come up. And I gave him one. And I go to walk away. And Jerry, he looks at me and said, hey. And I turned around and said, yes, sir. He goes, what is this? I said, well, it's a referee training class. And he goes, for people to become refs like you? I said, yeah. And I expected something nasty.
Yeah.
And he goes, so, people can get out there on the court and do what you're doing. I said, yeah. I said, I go to walk away. He says, hey. I said, yeah.
Right, waiting for the snide
Yeah,
comment.
I'm still waiting for it. He goes, so anybody can do this? I said, well, anybody's interested. You know somebody? He goes, well, yeah, me. Now, kid you, this dude is over 70. 2 years ago, I think. And I'm looking at him, or late 60s, I'm looking at him, I'm going, well, I guess he could do this level. I said, yeah, if you're interested, let us know. He goes, so if I call this number? And the dude just wouldn't let it go. And I'm looking at him thinking, no.
I could put the ball in play. Let's go.
Yeah. No, this was halftime.
Oh, okay.
But I'm looking at him thinking, no, he's not seriously interested. Well, next thing I know, I get a call from him, and he is signed up for the class online. And me and Tanya are like, okay. So we get the class, and I'm looking at Jerry. And every class, we look at Jerry and go, remember how you were acting? He go, yeah. And now he's officiating on a regular basis. And it's a beautiful thing to see. And I sent him out to a men's league, and I talked to the director afterward. He goes, man, I feel sorry for Jerry. I said, what happened? He goes, he got trucked. And they got some big guys in this league.
Oh, no.
And this league runs. So when he took the games, I was thinking, it's 3 games. Can he? Okay, he took them. Okay, I'm not going to discriminate.
Mm-hmm.
And then I talked to him about it. I said, Jerry, man, what happened? I heard you got trucked. He goes, oh, Crane, I did. I said, well,
Is he okay?
Yeah, that's what I asked. I said, you okay? He goes, that shit hurt, man. Sorry, I was supposed to use language.
Yeah.
But he said, that hurt. I said, Jerry, you got to get out of the way, man. He goes, I know, Crane. You guys talked about it in the class, but hell, I didn't get out of the way on that one. He goes, yeah, man, they knocked me down. And I said, you go get checked out? Nah, I've been hit harder than that before. And then he came back the next week. I was like, hey, he's got
Jerry.
the officiating blood.
Yeah,
he's
shout
got
out.
it.
Shout out
So,
to Jerry.
yeah, so if
There
you
you go.
guys know anybody that, might be interested, spare time, part-time, full-time, they can do it. And we're doing basketball this class, and we got volleyball coming up later. And we're looking at adding some other sports, but right now we're focused on basketball and volleyball. Adam, you look like you got deep questions in your brain.
No.
Okay. Well, I think that's it for the day. Mr. Jake Linder, appreciate having you on. I told you we're going to have a little fun today.
It's a good time.
All right. We'll probably have you back, man.
Sounds good.
Because this our producer, he's growing us up. He's teaching us how to do this, how to get the officials out and get us talking about things.
Yep. Trying.
All things official. So thanks again for joining us. This is Ref Time signing out. Thanks again for listening to Ref Time, powered by RefTrainingschool.com and Hoosier3on3.com. Produced by Coraggio Media. Ref Time is recorded in WELT Studios in beautiful downtown Fort Wayne, Indiana.
To join RTS, visit reftrainingschool.com. Please like, subscribe, and share with your friends. Until next time.